All right, put in your own kazoo sound here. Welcome everybody to episode 14 of I think it's 14. It's weird because we're recording everything out of order. Of the All You Can Hear podcast. If you can't tell, I'm a little stopped up right now, but I'm here, and I am one of your four co-hosts, Tanner, and with me, as per usual, we have Colt.
Yeah.
We have Cody. We have Wenzel.
Since Tanner is sick, we'll need a new heir to the AYCH fortune.
Oh,
Lucas.
Here's all the money in red. Here
you need to write your will.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Please give everything you own to my dog, Lucas.
I hate Lucas. No.
He almost bit Jonathan the other day.
Let's just go over what Lucas has done wrong in the past month.
Nothing.
I'm pretty sure he peed on Wenzel last time Wenzel stayed
that wasn't
night.
Last month.
He peed. It was in June. That was last month, dog.
It wasn't in the last month. It was.
He almost peed on me. He peed right by the floor. Like, it was like one of those vines where people...
You got lucky.
Yeah, I did get lucky.
He cares
he
about you. That's why
me.
he didn't pee on you.
Apparently, he's almost bit Jonathan.
He has been.
Jonathan was asking for it.
Just by walking in our house. Yeah, that's it.
But anyways, today we're here to talk about something I think near and dear to all our hearts. We're going to be talking about Adult Swim. We're going to be talking about Toonami, just kind of how it has shaped us, kind of like a retrospective, because you can't tell we're recording this podcast 3 weeks in advance. And it's kind of weird talking about current events 3 weeks in advance and then coming out 3 weeks later. It's like, wow, they're so late on that. But yeah, so that's what we're talking about today.
So we wanted to do this podcast because, well, first of all, Rick and Morty, when this podcast comes out, would have come out yesterday on July the 30th. So if for some reason that doesn't come out on July 30th, this podcast was supposed to be about that. However, we wanted it to go a little bit in depth, dealing with Toonami and Adult Swim. And if Tanner starts speaking in the background and I don't forget to turn him back up, Tanner, you just hit me up.
Yeah, I'll give you a hand signal. Yeah, I'll give you a hand signal.
Yeah, because
nobody wants sniffles.
Yeah, Tanner's sick, and we got 2 days till food trip, according to this podcast. But you will already hear about the food trip by the time. Anyways, turning Tanner down. So we're talking about the Toonami and Adult Swim podcast, or we're talking about Toonami and Adult Swim. A lot of our inspiration comes from the fact that we all grew up with both Toonami and Adult Swim. They're both very near and dear to our hearts. One of the interesting things, about a year ago, we started watching someone named Captain Christian on YouTube, and he does these great little video essays around specific things. He did one on Adult Swim first, and then Toonami later on, and both of them have brought back a lot of nostalgia and made us realize just how influential both of these programming blocks had on our lives. And it's crazy how now they are merged together. So we just wanted to talk about Toonami today and have a great little time doing that. Anybody want to add a comment to that?
Well,
I love Toonami. I love Adult Swim. Yeah.
So I guess I'll start out with some little trivia here. So Toonami start out with Toonami here. We're going to talk about it for a little bit. Toonami launched March 7th, 1997. So that makes it 20 years old this year, which is crazy to think about. There's different eras of Toonami, and so with different eras, you have different sort of people who hosted it, technically. You had from 1997 to 99, you had Moltar, which I'm not incredibly sure. I believe Moltar was from
it was a
Space Ghost.
Space Ghost, yeah.
And they used him because he had no mouth animation. It was easier to animate him because he didn't have a mouth to move, and he would just nod his head, and they'd voice it. I remember that.
Well, actually, I know for after watching Captain Christian, also, like when Turner and Cartoon Network got all the animations, I know the animation team used to just reuse old animations of and that's how Space Ghost was made, obviously. So I wonder, I guess just because it was so easy and so cheap to do, that's why they used Moltar for 2 years.
Well, the thing is, that was mostly for Adult Swim. Toonami didn't use that, but they did have the rights to Moltar himself because they've owned the Hanna-Barbera collection, or Turner had the rights to the Hanna-Barbera collection. And so they had tried to do something like Toonami before in the 2 years prior, and in the early days, it was basically the same as those two things. I forgot what they were called. But they mostly focused on the older cartoons from the 1980s and early 90s and mid 90s, like Voltron, Thundercats.
Big O.
This is not Toonami. This is pre-Toonami and then into the first era of Toonami.
I thought Big O.
Big O did not appear on Toonami. Fun fact: it appeared on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
Because it was a more adult oriented. So you had things like coming up in this era. You had things like Sailor Moon, DBZ. Some of the Gundams popped up, but as you go on, Moltar went to the back burner. In 1999 to 2000, there was the Tom 1 era, which I believe was voiced by the same guy who voiced Krillin. And this was Tom. We don't really. I know we don't remember it, Colt and I, because we didn't get Cartoon Network as a channel until like 2000 and about 2003ish, 2004ish. 2003 you had Tom 2. So Tom 1 had this like little round belly. He was short, kind of like a little chibi type robot. Mm-hmm. Tom 2, he was looking closer to what we know, what our favorite Tom was, which was Tom 3.
He was voiced by one of the best voice actors of all time, Steve Blum.
Tom 3 came out 2003 to 2007 with Steve Blum as the voice, and 2007-2008 Tom 4 era had a huge shift in the way he looked. He almost looked like Thomas the Train in a way.
I feel like that's part of the reason why Toonami's ratings went down, and that's what led to its cancellation for however long it was canceled.
It definitely did get canceled, and but then it was revived by Adult Swim and is now integrated with Adult Swim to this day as Tom 5. But from 2012 to 2013, there was a small era where Tom 3 came back, and they called it the Tom 3.5 era. And that's really interesting to go into that. I know that we share a lot of memories with Tom 3. I know Colt and I do.
Yeah.
No, I'm the same way.
And there was a lot of times where there was different shows. There were so many different shows, and this was the block that got me into anime as a whole. And I remember Colt got into his first manga because of this too.
I don't even remember what it was.
Rave Master.
Oh, yeah.
I remember Rave Master.
I was looking up the prices of the volumes the other day.
Right.
What's crazy, because I'm like you guys, I got in during like the Tom 3 era, because I remember the first thing outside of Dragon Ball Z, and I think Dragon Ball Z was its own creature, and also I guess Dragon Ball Z was Adult Swim because it came on every night for a while on Cartoon Network. It might have started on Toonami, but I know when I got into it, because they would show 2 episodes back to back on weeknights.
Toonami was like every night. It was every night 5 p.m. is when it would start, and it would end around 9.
Yeah, I remember because back when I lived in California, I was like,
No, Toonami didn't go every night.
No.
Toonami was always like a Saturday thing.
Yeah, it was only Saturday nights. Yeah. It's only Saturday nights currently on Adult Swim.
Oh, so they kept it the same.
I don't remember. I feel like it was every night.
I feel like it was too, because I remember coming back every day from
If it wasn't Toonami, they had anime.
No, they definitely had an anime block, because I remember on the anime block they had like One Piece and stuff like that, but that was like the 4Kids dub. Like there was like no blood or anything. They would show that like after school. It was like One Piece, Code Lyoko.
Oh, yes, you're right. There was. So obviously that we've got ourselves kind of confused here, but I think you're definitely right. There was time periods in which it would happen like around 3 or 4 p.m. where they would have their own Toonami blocks.
Yes.
But was it called Toonami? Was it marketed as Toonami?
It had Tom and everything.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I remembered that.
But I think in those blocks they showed reruns of shows. It was only on the Saturday nights that they went
the new stuff.
They went entire nights with the new stuff that blended, that towards the end of Toonami's era began to blend into the Adult Swim stuff. I think they had I forgot which one it was, but there was a show that did a crossover that was right. I think it was there was, I know, a crossover between Primetime and Toonami, and that was Bo. That was one of the only shows that was considered on both Toonami and the regular showing times. And then I think there was a few other shows that did start spreading out over the course of both Adult Swim and Toonami.
Does anyone remember that little show with the little fucker that looked like a puppet?
It was a puppet. That was Zatch Bell.
Yeah,
dog.
Zatch Bell.
Zatch Bell. I love
Hated that show.
Zatch Bell was awesome.
That show, every time I saw it, I got annoyed because I was like, this is so boring.
That was the only okay, fun fact here. So Zatch Bell, I guess the blonde little puppet was called Zatch Bell, and that's why the show was called Zatch Bell. Again, this is like a decade plus ago at this point. But his favorite fish was Yellowtail. that's what got me to try sushi. Was one day I went to an hibachi grill and I ordered yellowtail sushi. I'm like, I'm about to be anime as fuck.
Well, I'm sorry.
It was awesome, but no, I thought that show I thought it had a great premise and everything. I mean, I have still to this day I have no idea what the ending was.
I don't know. It just really. It didn't attract my interest. I don't know what
I would say go back and try to watch it again and see what happens.
Yeah, no, that probably is a good idea.
It is an anime. It's an anime in the realm of like Yu-Gi-Oh and things like that. It's one of those types of animes that was meant to spawn some sort of collection, something or another. So that was the other interesting thing you said about sushi. Toonami itself. Okay, so we all are a bunch of dudes from Alabama. Toonami was our gateway into...
Hold on. Wenzel was born in Japan.
Oh, gosh, I was born in Japan, stayed in California for a few years, then moved down to Florida for like a year, then finally came to Alabama, and that's...
How long have you been in Alabama?
Since 2003.
Oh, so you've lived here for...
all my life.
Yeah, pretty much.
That was one of the things that Tanner was just mentioning was the fact that Toonami was our gateway to a world. Like I remember we didn't have really like Japanese restaurants around Tuscaloosa growing up. We were where we're from. We grew up.
We had Chinese buffet.
We did have a Chinese buffet, but there was no.
Actually had two.
Oh yeah, we did have two at one point.
There used to be one where Full Moon is now. There used to be one right there.
Oh yeah,
in the early 2000s.
Holy shit, I forgot about that one.
You totally forget about it, but like. You think about stuff that was there pre-tornado, it's like, Milo's used to be on the other side of the road, and now it's like, or on the other side of town, but now it's all the way over there by the dying Kmart.
Yeah, Hobby Lobby used to be over there.
Yeah, Hobby Lobby, Chuck E. Cheese used to be over there.
Yeah, now
it's at Tuesday mornings.
Now
over
it's
there.
like Hobby Lobby's all the way in Northport, and Chuck E. Cheese is in Midtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, tornado. If no one from Tuscaloosa knows, the tornado that happened on April 27th, 2011, kind of literally rearranged our entire city.
Yeah, the
it
whole
kind
town.
of did it for the best.
That's a whole lot of bag of worms, but
I mean, obviously huge tragedy, but like Tuscaloosa would be.
It was definitely
in dire straits, if not like. Everything got destroyed, and they were like, well, we kind of need to pick up with the 21st century. Because, I mean, it was a very 90s-oriented town, like, into the 2010s.
Yeah, it definitely didn't. It definitely was... It spawned growth. It kind of cut down on some of the housing and allowed for more apartments and things like that. There's a lot that goes into it. It's a very complicated and delicate situation because, like, we weren't necessarily... Like, there were people who lived in houses that no longer now can live in those houses because the city deemed them unfit to live on the property due to sewage. And then all of a sudden they're building multi-million-dollar apartments and things like that on top of it. So there's a lot of sensitivity that goes there because it's a lot of times where it's like, yeah, honestly, for future reference, it probably is a good thing that happened. But anyways.
We went to Chinese buffet,
but that brings back. We didn't have like Japanese restaurants. We didn't have those types of things. Which I know it sounds weird because we're such weebs. But the thing is though is that because this kind of gave us a step into that world. And I remember that was around the same time that I started watching Toonami. I got into my very first like deep dive anime, and that was Dragon Ball Z. And I got Budokai, the game, and I played through it, and that was basically all the way up into the Cell Saga, and it was those types of things that kind of led me to where I watched Yu-Gi-Oh before on WB Kids. And,
what about Yu Yu Hakusho?
Yu Yu Hakusho was a show. I believe it showed up on. Yes, it did show up. I remember specifically it showing up on there. So like those types of things. I just want to name off a few shows here, see if we can spark some memories. Rurouni Kenshin.
See, I never got into it.
I loved me some Rurouni Kenshin.
And I went to sleep.
It was great. It came on right at the tail end of the show. I used to love Rurouni Kenshin. I still do. I love it. Dragon Ball GT.
Well, I loved it. GT is... I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but my favorite...
Oh,
I love GT.
Let's calm down. GT has a huge soft spot in my heart, but...
Step into the grand tour.
But yeah, great intro. Dragon Ball GT, great theme song. But
it's
Dragon Ball Z still better. GT is not canon.
but it is.
Cody would argue with me for years that it was canon.
We mentioned it a few episodes ago. If you're now listening to this in chronological order, Bobo.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of Bobo. You know, all the bows. I just loved how zany and different. It was like an anime, but it was like, let's add in like, God, like just zany. Like it was almost like a very westernized anime in the sense where they were like, kind of like all the main characters were like, none of them were really like Japanese or anything. They're all like, really no culture tied to them. They're all just like Bobo's whole premise was like, I'm this big buff guy with a yellow afro and I'm here to kill you with my nose hairs. And it was just like this very like macho attitude. Like I had never seen it, again, this is like 2005, 2006, but I had never seen an anime. But no, I loved it. I attached to Bobo immediately.
Another one, IGPX, do you guys remember that?
Yes, I do. They like raced around a circular track.
Found out
robots.
That was actually created by that was not created. It was created for Toonami.
Oh.
It was one of the few shows that was actually created for Toonami and not just something they syndicated. Throwing out outside of anime, does anybody remember Megas XLR?
Yes, I do.
Oh.
Giant big rig flaming truck. Man,
And they turned into a robot, and then you
What
had
the hell?
You had the dude that looked like Larry the Cable Guy with his emo friend and some chick. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of this show.
It was such a good show. I remember it came out in like 04, 05, and it was just a really, really good show. Going back to earlier days, do you guys remember Beast Wars, the Transformers?
Yes. Fuck yes.
I don't
love Beast Wars.
I don't know how you remember it because it came on literally before you were born.
They had reruns.
No, they got me like a VHS like of some
Right.
of the episodes, and I watched it like repeatedly. And then finally, like when I got access to internet on the website of Hasbro, they had every episode.
Oh wow!
And I watched it all.
Yeah,
Fucking love it.
I remember that used to come on like not on Toonami. This is going off Toonami,
Yeah.
but it used to come on TV, and I used to watch that shit
Yeah.
constantly. And it was a shitty animation
I know,
quality.
but it was just
so bad.
It was so fun though, like because I remember I tried to show it to my friend. He's like, "This is boring." I'm like, "I don't know what you're fucking talking about." But then looking back on, it, I was like, "Oh yeah, the animation was kind of boring and just basic." But I was like, it was just so interesting.
Man, I wish I still had all those Transformers I had as a kid. Transformers Beast Wars, every time we'd go to the store, I would always get a Transformer from Beast Wars. And those beasts, like, I love them so much.
Gosh, I remember too, Free Comic Book Day, first time I came over here, one of the free comic books I got was a Beast Wars comic. And it was like a different version of it. It had like more like tons and tons of different characters, like more that wasn't in the show. And I remember getting it, and it was like my prized possession. I would read it like repeatedly all the time because I loved it so much.
See, I did that with Barney. Like Teletubbies.
That makes sense. Teen Titans.
Oh,
And not
Wow.
Teen Titans
I mean,
Go.
I
We're talking about like legit
good
Teen
one.
Titans.
Well, hold on. Everybody shits on Teen Titans Go. Teen Titans Go is
It is-
legitimately
the
good.
episode where they make fun of Young Justice was so good.
I'm just saying, if it didn't have the Teen Titans logo and it was just different characters other than Teen Titans,
Then it's
I'd
not
be-
Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But
Then it's
I'm
just
just
Go.
saying, it ruins it for me because I'm
Yeah.
thinking of the old Teen Titans and how much awesome and badass it was.
I mean, yeah.
And not this tooting
Yeah.
booty, shaking booty shit.
Oh, come
It
on,
makes
that's
me
fucking
angry.
hilarious.
I hate that stuff so
What's
much.
great about Teen Titans Go is because, you know, like, there's a lot of the same people that work on Teen Titans Go that worked on Teen Titans.
I know. I don't
And-
know what happened to them.
But it's
Did
so-
they take depression pills?
It's
or something?
so funny because they make fun about Teen Titans getting canceled all the time within the show. They're like, Teen Titans season 6 coming? Never. And it's so good.
Yeah.
It's
You
so
know-
good. But no, Teen Titans was awesome. Like,
I remember one of my more memorable moments was Terra from Teen Titans, the person who could like move stuff. I loved her so much just because she could throw like giant rocks around and
yeah.
things. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna name my Pokemon Ruby. When I first got Pokemon Ruby, I was like, I'm gonna name my character Terra, and that's
that's why your character was
That's the
named
reason-
Terra.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
yeah, because I named her. I named her after, and then I also named. I got a Sceptile or a what is it? What is Trico
yeah.
and named it Goku, but that's a whole different thing.
You had that Goku subtile for years. I mean, I don't know if you still have it.
It's probably
like in the bank or
Colt
something.
probably deleted it.
No, I remember whenever we did like that huge Pokemon battle. I remember battling against you.
Well, I changed it.
He deleted it.
Colt also used to. Excuse me, Colt probably deleted it. He had a habit of taking my Pokemon over my older game's Pokemon over to his new game, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I reset everything." It was so. Oh
I
god.
kept the Pokemon.
You reset your shiny Riolu / Lucario
I remember that.
you got from an egg
in
in
Diamond.
Do you not feel any depression from that?
I do. I'm mad that I did it.
I regret it
but
every
it's in
day
the
of my
past.
life.
What am I gonna do? Mope about it every day?
That would be
I
incredible
would.
if you moped about a shiny Lucario a decade later.
Why not?
Because what, Diamond was 2007, 2008? Like a whole decade, you're like,
Oh god.
I could have the best shiny Lucario in the
And
damn
it wasn't.
world.
He didn't get it in 2007. He definitely got it like what 2010, 2011.
Nah.
I feel like
Please.
Cole played it at the same time we played it, and we
I
got it when it was
remember-
brand new.
Going back in the old house when we were still next to our grandma. I remember on the front porch going and outside and saying, I got
Oh,
this.
okay.
It was when he still played baseball when he got it.
And I didn't watch. Oh, do y'all remember the Justice League show that was on there
Justice
too?
League.
I loved it.
The regular one, and then there was Justice League Unlimited. Loved him.
I used to love Hawk Girl, and I don't know why I loved Hawk Girl so much.
Her
in
name's
Justice
Hawk
League.
She's kind of a Hawk Girl, yeah.
Oh,
There's Hawk Girl, and
Hawk.
then there's Hawk Guy. I don't know what the fuck his name is, but I remember I liked her too. But then whenever like Justice League Unlimited came out, gosh, at some point, like if you've watched the show, she betrays the Justice League, and I'm like, you bitch.
Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that, and I did not watch this, but Samurai Jack.
Oh, I mean, love Samurai.
I didn't
Yeah,
like it as
fucking
a kid.
loved it.
I love Samurai Jack.
I like
Even
it
the
now.
new season was.
The new season's so
fantastic.
good.
I was not a fan of it. I wasn't a fan of the art style when I was a kid, but I mean that
loved
doesn't
it.
mean it was
I was
bad.
terrified of Aku as a kid. I thought
Aku
he was,
was
like
spooky.
a giant demon. Well, he was. But
So, as we know, Toonami was absorbed into Adult Swim after an April Fool's joke a few years ago. Adult Swim was like, "Oh, do you like it? Let's watch and tell us what you think." And they said they went up to there was 1.4 million people were watching Adult Swim whenever Toonami came on.
I
And
even watched it.
it was incredible. It was an incredible turnout, which allowed them to do Saturdays where they would just do anime on Adult Swim, which is
I
amazing.
even remember part of the lineup for that night. It was Catherine Sins, Dead Man Wonderland. Oh fuck!
After
Never
it
mind.
came back,
Yeah. As soon as it came back,
we didn't even talk about Naruto and Bleach before. Like Naruto and Bleach was on there for years before it got canceled.
Gosh, when did Toonami get canceled again?
Like
2008,
08,
he said,
09?
I remember that when he was left. He said, "Remember, stay golden."
See, that's the thing too.
it's so sad.
I just remember
It's actually
too.
legit depressing.
Like around the time, because I remember when I came to Alabama, I still watched it. And I remember like talking about it with my friends, and none of them, all of them sucked because they didn't know anything about it.
And by the way, Bleach was not on Toonami. It was on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was way
Was
too.
Naruto on Adult Swim?
Naruto was
It
on
was-
Adult Swim
yeah.
and Toonami.
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah, so basically what ended up happening after Toonami went away, Adult Swim was like, it basically picked up the remains. It tried to pick up as much of the remains as possible of the more highly anticipated shows that were on there. From what I could understand, I don't know the full story behind it. I wasn't paying attention during that part of my life. But after Adult Swim came back, I did not know. So, of course,
After Toonami came back.
after Toonami came back and Adult Swim sucked them in and absorbed them, like Kirby. Adult Swim used to have Inuyasha on, but they incorporated Inuyasha into Toonami. Basically,
And
anything.
Inuyasha used to come on every single day
At, like,
5:30 a.m.
It was like 3 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night with my TV on to the sound, the Japanese sounds that were that were so inherent.
It
in
would be
Inuyasha.
Inuyasha and then home videos.
Yeah, Home Videos was another great show, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Post Adult Swim. I didn't know if you guys know this. Hellsing is now a part of their line, or was a part of their lineup.
Yeah.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah.
And they're starting in July 29th. On July 29th, the next thing of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure starts.
Yeah, Stardust Crusaders.
One Punch Man, Sword Art Online. So all of these animes that are typical, like popular within our realms, they basically are getting syndicated for Toonami now.
Yeah.
Like Toonami's got a full up lineup, and like I no longer see. I don't know about you guys, but I always saw Toonami as like an anime sampler. It was here's what's out there. Go find it.
Yeah, it was one of those things, because I remember when Toonami came back, they're like, yeah, it's definitely a sampler, because like the first episode of One Piece that came on Toonami after Toonami came back was like episode probably like 300 and something, and it was like right when Frankie's joining the crew.
I thought it was because when Luffy and Usopp
it's when
fight.
Luffy and Usopp
Spoilers.
Like decade-old spoilers, yeah. But it's one of those weird things. I like, even as a kid, I was like, man, I wonder where like I can watch this stuff more often. Because again, I mean, like Naruto and Bleach and all that. I was like, where when we were kids, there was no. I sound like an old man. There was no Crunchyroll, but like
there wasn't.
But there legitimately wasn't, and like I wasn't a smart enough kid to illegally download
Anime
like
404, say my life.
like anime and shit.
Yeah. I did find a lot of my anime not necessarily with the most moral reasons behind it. I was
I
like
got
I'm
a lot of
looking at hentai. Hold on, let me rephrase this for a second.
Wait,
I did not illegally download, but I definitely did not legally watch.
Well, yeah, there used to be streaming sites, because I remember when Toonami was like getting through the rest of Naruto. I remember I just happened to be on the computer, and this was way before I had my own computer, and I was reading, and I kept reading about this thing called Naruto Shippuden, however you want to pronounce it. I was like, what is this? And I watched the first episode of it. I'm like, they're all older, because this is before I had in my head, I knew what like that time skips in anime were like a common trope, but like I was like, they're all like 2 years older, and like, oh, here's all your favorite Naruto characters just doing wacky shenanigans. So.
And like I said, I always saw it as Toonami as an anime sampler. It gave me an opportunity to watch things I normally wouldn't, and be able to expand. Because if it wasn't for Toonami, I wouldn't. I may not be into anime like I am today.
Oh yeah.
Or enjoy it quite as much as I can. I do today. Of course, I did watch Yu-Gi-Oh. WB Kids did a lot for me with Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon.
Yeah, really. When you think about that,
Digimon.
Digimon was my shit when I was a kid. I love Digimon.
But go ahead.
Oh, like I feel like WB Kids was like, because I mean we watched that when we were like kids, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. But it was like Pokemon, and it was Yu-Gi-Oh, and like I feel like there was one more anime on there, but I don't remember exactly what it was. But I feel like that's kind of what
Yu-Yu Hakusho was on there as well.
Probably at one point, but
it probably was at one point. I don't remember. But I like that was kind of like the thing that led me to Toonami, because again I like Dragon Ball Z, but then I remember seeing stuff like again, because this would have been like 2006, 2007, whatever, and then like Naruto and Bleach was coming on, and I was like, oh, this is like
that Jackie Chan show. I just remember that.
Oh, Jackie Chan Adventures? Yeah, it was really good. But like that kind of led me into that. I'm like, this is just so much different than, I mean, obviously Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon aren't necessarily anime because they're entirely too westernized or whatever. But like as a kid, you're like, this is cool. And then like when you see your first like big fight in like Bleach, you're like, why isn't SpongeBob doing this?
Yeah, and it's funny too, because it's like, gosh, I remember my dad. My dad's really conservative. If anybody doesn't know, my dad's super conservative. But I remember one day he just like, "Hey Wenzel, like after the fact, like I've already seen like
here's your own Zanpakuto."
Well, no, he was like, like Wenzel, have you ever seen Cowboy Bebop?
Bebop, Cowboy Bebop,
Cowboy Bebop.
Beep beep.
And I'm like, yes, Dad. He's like, I love the music in there, Wenzel. It's a really good anime. And like, I'm like, where's this coming from? And like my dad like saw it when I was young, but never ever thought to introduce it to me. And then I remember one time I was watching Godzilla VHS, and one of the trailers in there was for an anime, Neon Genesis Evangelion, and my dad was like, Wenzel, that looks cool. We need to watch that. And that's how I got introduced to that.
And then he saw the weird comatose nut scene. Did he see that?
Probably.
No, he hasn't seen that.
He doesn't need to see that.
He doesn't see that, but
keep that away from your father at all costs.
Oh man!
At the end of the day, I know for my own personal sake, while I'm not watching Toonami now because I've moved on to bigger and greater pastures such as Crunchyroll. But that I don't believe Toonami is. I think Toonami was for me, but I don't believe Toonami is no longer for me. It's for all the kids.
I'm very thankful for Toonami, because if I didn't watch it, I would probably be into that weird girly anime where it's nothing but titties. I'm not a fan of that now. I'm mostly an action-packed fighting anime guy now. Thanks to
I mean, we're all shonen boys.
Yeah,
when it comes down to it.
But I'm very thankful for what it did for me. What it comes to, especially with the adult. We'll get into Adult Swim in a moment, but it definitely fueled that next step, and that next step was Adult Swim anime, the anime that came up on Adult Swim.
Except for good shit, my god.
So I guess we're gonna segue into Adult Swim now. Does everybody feel okay with that? Go ahead, Wenzel.
Yeah, beep boop bust.
Oh, he's smoking a big
cowboy beep boop bust in there.
Oh no, I mean I wasn't gonna say anything, but now that I think about it,
no, that was me driving a truck.
Oh,
I was just gonna say it was just so good, and I loved it so much without even knowing. And I remember around the time, 2008 or 2007, whenever it went off, I remember that's the time I stopped watching it. I didn't realize, because it was canceled.
Man, I thought they were just signing off for the night.
I was going to segue into Adult Swim, but let's talk about this a little bit more. Because I am very interested. Because, are you guys not surprised at how much you love the shows that you did while also skipping a fuck ton of episodes at a time?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I do that with Dragon Ball Super now. I do not watch fillers.
I mean, it's just so crazy how many episodes that I either missed, didn't watch, skipped, etc. just because of how it was such a... Because anime is meant to be a serial. It's meant to be you watch one after the other. And that's what anime is about. There are some gaps in the shonens with the filler, but for the most part, anime's meant to go 1 through 13, and then you're done. If you miss one episode, you miss a big battle.
Yeah, you miss
someone's
a
fucking
huge
dead.
plot point or something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so,
what the hell happened, Isaac?
I think it's crazy today that we still fell in love with anime despite Toonami. I mean, it's not Toonami's fault. It's just the name of the game.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go in I don't know how Toonami was when it first launched because, again, I was just a wee child. But, I'm sure they didn't just say, we're going to show episode 1 of all these anime, and then we're going to show episode 2 of all these anime.
No, they didn't.
No, they just went right in the middle. They're like, we're going to show them the good shit.
I was looking at Voltron 84, which is this documentary which is on Netflix. And it's sort of a pseudo-documentary where they'll have commentary from the people who are making the current Voltron attached to the old Voltron and why they love this particular episode. And they just play all the episodes out of order, and you don't know what the really because kids aren't looking for what the fuck is going on story wise. They're looking at who's killing who today, who's marrying who. I was watching the Voltron 84. It was an episode where the princess. I've never seen Voltron before, so I'm about to piss people off. But where the princess is getting captured to get married, it's just some crazy shit happens, and it's just totally outside of it. Just Voltron comes with I'm saving the day.
Yeah.
And so there is in those older shows, there was an overarching story, but when you look at each episode, they could probably stand on their own, kind of like Power Rangers in a way. But another thing I wanted to mention, especially around Toonami, was I'm blanking.
I'm mad. Why isn't Super Saiyan 4 Goku a thing?
I have something to say about Voltron too. I remember when I first moved here, I watched it every night because it came on Boomerang, I think, or something. I remember watching it every night, and I remember I was like, oh, this is cool. But at the end of each episode, when Voltron fights a monster, just know he wins automatically. There's no continuation of him fighting that monster. It's literally he cuts it in half with his blazing sword, and that's it.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, kind of like Cody said, like Power Rangers.
And that's another reason why also my dad, every time he talks about it, he's like, I hate that show.
No, one thing I want to say about Toonami. No long-term
character development.
Because I mean,
not like that cowboy people.
No, but one thing I want to say about Toonami is, I mean, I don't know if I can speak for anybody here, but I don't know if me and Cody would have ever been as good friends. I mean, as we are without the anime, because I mean, we bonded at first. I met Cody when I was 9, he was 11, and we bonded over Pokemon, but nobody, we would have never been able to have conversations about the stuff we did, or I'm gonna go way deep here, and we created a whole world, the elementals, and we wouldn't have been able to.
It was all based on
it was all based off
anime.
But and we did that shit for 2 years.
Excuse me. Elementals are forever.
Elementals are forever.
God, which is fucking crazy, because I think about people who didn't grow up watching anime, or sorry, didn't grow up, but technically they did, because I'm pretty sure everybody has seen Dragon Ball, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's kind of crazy when I think about people who are like, oh yeah, I'm not into anime. It's like, are you really not?
I know, it's so funny because, like, I remember I had friends in high school, like, I don't know how we get on the subject, but I'd be like, yeah, I watched Dragon Ball Z as a kid a lot. They're like, Dragon Ball Z was my shit, but they're not the type to be like, oh, have you seen like, they don't even go as deep in the bubble as, like, have you seen the new My Hero or One Punch Man or anything, but they're like, Dragon Ball Z was my shit, it was my favorite show as a kid, but none of them ever really, like, dove deeper, in a way. They were all just like, Dragon Ball is cool, and I think Dragon Ball Z is the pinnacle. Yeah. And that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Like, why would I watch something that's worse than Dragon Ball Z?
And it's funny, too, because I remember recently, like, I got some people to watch One Punch Man, and they're all like...
Recently?
No, well, sorry. I shouldn't say recently. Last year, I got some people, like my brother-in-law, Brandon. Yeah. I was like, hey, do you want to watch this show called One Punch Man? Because they started, like, because, they made the English dub for Toonami. Yeah. So I was like, hey, do you want to watch this? And he was like, sure. And he was like, Wenzel, this is amazing. Yeah. And I'm like, you're welcome.
That's the thing. Like, you can never, like... And when you think about the marketing strategy of Toonami, they wanted to show... Well, I guess it was probably more oriented for teenagers, if I had to guess. But, like, we were just all little babies when it came on. But... the fact that they showed Dragon Ball, like, stuff like Dragon Ball Z was genius. Because imagine, like, throwing a show on there that's, like, erased.
Oh, shit.
Like, nobody would have been in the anime if the first anime they ever watched was erased. They were like, yeah, that was a cool episode of Law and Order. They're like, and they went back in time. That was crazy.
And if you haven't
erased... If you haven't seen
really
it,
good anime.
if you haven't seen it,
I would recommend it for sure. But like, even like thinking of like 9-year-old Tanner, that couldn't have held like 9-year-old Tanner's attention span. You know what did though? Kamehameha. That was good shit.
Well, that's weird too because actually when I was 9, I loved watching Law and Order.
That is weird.
Well, all right, moving on. Adult Swim. Okay, so let's go on Adult Swim. So again, I should say that both of these are similar. They're actually out of the same studio. And based in Atlanta, by the way. I didn't know if anybody knew that.
Yep.
I did.
So Adult Swim launched in September 2nd of 2001, and from Captain Christian's video, he did, like I said, if you guys have never heard of Captain Christian, both with K's, Captain and Christian, you need to go watch his videos, his video essays, particularly on Adult Swim and Toonami. Both are really good. I really have a soft spot for the Adult Swim one, though. And so something that's more important in this aspect is understanding that, like, Adult Swim was meant to be a block of TV for late night. It was not meant for kids. It was after the kids went to bed and the adults were staying up to get an hour of alone time together or an hour alone time for themselves. It was not meant for kids at all. And I think Captain Christian said something very important in there and said, we weren't sleeping. We weren't asleep. And I think that's kind of cool because I feel like a lot of what Adult Swim is today, or what Adult Swim has done for us today, has given us culture, internet culture. I think that Adult Swim is literally the seed of much of the humor and kind of I don't want to say, oh God, I hate saying this, meme culture.
Well, see, I was going to say that, and it kind of is in a way, because even now you think about, like, your most popular YouTube channels, I would say 8 out of 10 of them say, oh, a huge inspiration for me or for us was like Adult Swim, and like some of that brand of humor they bought either in their like Tim and Eric, for example, or like Cow Chop, for example, does like the beatbox bumpers. They totally ripped that idea from Adult Swim. That's an Adult Swim idea. Yeah. So it's just one of those things where it's like all these 20 and 30 somethings have been influenced for a decade now by Adult Swim, and it's kind of like insane, or longer than a decade, I guess.
So moving on to understanding. So it's a launch September 2nd, 2001. Just 9 days before September 11th, if anybody didn't know that. Yeah. From 2001 to 2003, this era was known as the swimming pool era. Do you guys remember the swimming pool era?
I sort of do.
I don't think I've ever heard it referred to as the swimming pool era.
It's called the swimming pool era because they had these little clips with these like cool little jazzy type beats. People, and it had like a retro filter of like people just swimming in a pool or like by pools or it was
I remember
like
those
no diving signs and things like that. Those were the bumps.
Yeah.
Right. And so those
I guess I never knew it was called the swimming pool era.
Yeah, and so apparently each of these eras is based on the bumps. And so technically in Toonami, the Tom and the Molar, whatever his name is, Moltar, whatever.
Yeah.
Those are bumps as well, but in Adult Swim these are much more defined because those bumps were different. 2001, 2003 was the swimming pool era, and during this time period, Adult Swim aired their own TV shows. It's the shows that they themselves produced, and these shows were produced through a process. So basically, Turner Television, which is the father company of Cartoon Network, they had acquired the Hanna-Barbera collection from the 60s. And so those cartoons were then repurposed into these adult-type shows. You had Space Ghost Coast to Coast. You had shows like Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, C-Lab 2021. I'm trying to see if I can see any more right here. Aqua Teen Hunger Force was another one. The Brack Show.
Yeah.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force and The Brack Show were both direct spin-offs from Space Ghost Coast to Coast as well. And so The Brack Show, I loved The Brack Show growing up, but it went pretty fast. From 2003 to 2014 is the most known era, and that is the era of the black and white intertitle era. Oh, yeah. And that's where you had the black and white words pop up, talking to you and having a conversation with you.
That's still a thing, though.
But now they I mean, obviously back then they had like they also had like bumps and stuff, but like that was the most known thing. Like if you watch Adult Swim now, they still do the black background, white letters, but there's also just a lot more like, here's 35-second sample of some hip-hop beat, and they just play that and then go to commercials.
Actually, the new era is called the Landscape Pans era.
Yeah, they show a bunch of mountains and shit.
Yeah. And so they actually they want it to be more of a peaceful thing. And a lot of things that they did with their bumps, they would promote shows, they would make social commentary. Yeah. A lot of times they would make political commentary. It literally was like the guy who... So imagine if Tanner was my boss and I was like, hey, Tanner, what if I said this on air? And Tanner was like, no, or yes. Instead of me coming to Tanner, it was like Tanner, the boss, was at the helm and was like, I can say whatever the fuck I want because I'm here. And that's what it was like. And that was amazing because it felt very personal. It felt like they were talking to you.
And it still feels like that. It's not like Adult Swim has lost that feeling, but it's also kind of in the way aging with its audience, where it's like, you know, sometimes like people just want to go to sleep. So like I remember when Adult Swim ends, like now it plays like this peaceful little like good morning and like blah blah blah, and then it goes into like Teen Titans Go. I think that's the first thing that comes on. But it's just like this peaceful like little sunrise, and it's again super zen, super peaceful.
It used to be creepy as shit, though.
Yeah. When Adult Swim used to end, it used to be creepy as shit. I mean, when you think about some of the stuff Adult Swim has done over the years, like with their viral marketing, I mean, Too Many Cooks. Does anybody? I mean, I remember when that came out, they were like, "Yeah, we just randomly showed this 6-minute thing in the middle of the night for no reason,
no advertisement,
no advertisement. It was just a 6-minute Too Many Cooks thing." And like, I remember the first time watching. Again, Too Many Cooks was what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever. Yeah. I remember watching it. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, it was creepy. I mean,
it's terrifying. So they had the original programming, but they also did syndication. But I also want to talk about their bumps. They also did death tributes, which I totally forgot about. But they did this is only a few. They did a lot of death tributes over the years. But they did one to Johnny Cash, John Ritter, Randy Savage, Andy Griffith, Steve Jobs, Gary Coleman.
What did they do what do you mean by death tribute? Like they just showed like a picture
in the bumps,
of them?
they would sit there and say rest in peace, and they would when they died, they would just say rest in peace, and that's what you saw in between the commercials.
And it would just be dead quiet. I think I remember it just being dead quiet.
And it was just silence and stuff like that. So that was really cool. But they did have the original TV shows, and I do want to go into some of those. Aqua Teen Hunger Force, we talked about, Brack Show, Harvey Birdman. Home Movies was one of those that was just, it was poorly drawn. C-Lab 2021. I absolutely love the Bizarro episode. If anyone knows the Bizarro episode, Bizarro, it is amazing.
It was like a weird chicken thing, helping everything.
It is one of my favorite and most memorable moments of my childhood. It literally, I would say that was probably one of the pinnacle moments of shifting my humor, was whenever I watched that Bizarro episode.
He humps people randomly.
It's hilarious.
I promise it's the greatest comedy bit of all time.
You had Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Tom Goes to the Mayor. Tim and Eric.
Oh, I remember that too.
Tom Goes to Mayor. It had that like blue and white kind of drawing type thing. It was very Tim and Eric.
Yeah.
Crude, odd, weird, but also had this loose structure. I think that was one of the first Tim and Eric things to actually hit it big. There's a show that Jonathan particularly likes called Moral Oral.
Oh, I love Moral.
Always had a moral.
Specifically, the one where he sold his pee.
It is a very dark and depressing show. I mean, I totally forgot. Robot Chicken, with gave Seth Green some life over there after post Family Guy.
Well, it's crazy because I think we talked about. I can't remember if we talked about it before the podcast or on the podcast a couple weeks ago at this point. But like Family Guy would not exist now if it wasn't for Adult Swim, because Adult Swim got those broadcasting or syndication rights after Fox canned it, and then like DVD sales and viewership were so high, Fox was like, let's bring this back. But then I remember even for a few years, Adult Swim, like, it used to be Peter, and it showed it in this Captain Christian video where Peter will be like, we're about to show you stuff that, like, those pansies at Fox won't let you and stuff. So it'd be like an uncut, uncensored version of Family Guy would come on Adult Swim for years, and I would imagine, I don't know if Family Guy, Family Guy still comes on.
Mm-hmm, they still come on both.
And also I'm going to name The Boondocks, great show.
Great show.
Assy McGee, where it was literal ass.
That made me uncomfortable.
He was just a butt, shooting people.
Just shooting people.
Super Jail, which was which is in their weird years where they went into this like psychedelic sort of era where it was just full of crude, very, very odd humor. Yeah. You had Tim and Eric Awesome Show, Great Job, which is one of Cult Service shows, and of course
Metalocalypse.
Metalocalypse too, Rick and Morty. I didn't name them all here because again, I just kind of
we'd be here forever. Yeah.
But when we go to the syndicated shows that we all remember, this includes anime. You have Family Guy, Dragon Ball Super, American Dad, King of the Hill, Inuyasha, Cowboy Bebop, The Oblongs. Do y'all remember the Oblongs?
Down in the valley where the chemicals spill.
That's copyrighted.
Yu Yu Hakusho, Trigun, The Big O. Which, by the way, Adult Swim produced The Big O 2. They actually did it for themselves. So that's actually their own. There is a Big O 2 out there. I'm not really sure, but it was produced by them. Full Metal Alchemist, great show. Neon Genesis Evangelion, whatever. Samurai Champloo, and One Punch Man. These are all shows that people love. And I was just going to mention that those adult animes, that was the piece of the puzzle that I think that Toonami missed a lot of times, was they would show these shoot 'em up, blast 'em like with a Kamehameha wave.
Well, you can't really show that to children.
Yeah, right. And you can't show some of these older things to children, but those were this Adult Swim's anime were the next step, but those anime didn't come on because they were considered even more adult than like the Oblongs or Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Yeah. Those were shown post midnight a lot of times.
And is it weird that people think those things are childish, which is like, they're not meant to be for children. They're meant to be for adults.
Right? Yeah, I mean, most, I would say, especially most shonen stuff, like, there's like, even when you think about it, a ton of blood in like Dragon Ball Z and again like Naruto and Bleach
and murder
and stuff and One Piece, and stuff like that. But I remember when One Piece used to come on at like 4 p.m. in the afternoon, like all of that shit was cut out. And then I remember, do you guys remember the One Piece, the pirate rap? That was the intro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just like, his name is Zoro, dressed like a samurai. And it was incredible.
I think it comes down to a lot of the times, especially with those, is the atmosphere of the show. Like with Dragon Ball Z, it was, even though Goku was blowing people up or things like that, there was no true death.
Yeah. He was happy-go-lucky.
It was happy-go-lucky. But then you have something like Cowboy Bebop where people actually fucking died. And it was gruesome.
No Dragon Balls.
It was more close. And then Samurai Champloo, which had... and that was the other thing. Samurai Champloo had amazing music. But something amazing about Adult Swim is that Adult Swim became... It started as something to use up some time slots and kind of geared towards adult. But once it started taking off, really, it got into the hands of those. And it went wild. And it really pulled out, like, musical artists.
Yeah.
Where people could just send in their music and, like, hey, send us your fucking shit. And you have Killer Mike, Flying Lotus, Odd Future, MF Doom, all those types of people. There's probably a lot of others that I'm totally missing. And they actually, on their website, they have top 5 singles of the week or top 5 singles of the month now on their website that you can go and listen to of these brand new artists.
Well, aren't they also a publishing company now?
Right. Yeah, William Street's Records. And right now they're doing that whole thing of like, Adult Swim singles, but this time they used to only do it for the summer. Now they're doing it for 52 weeks, like the entire year. And and like all these different artists are like putting new singles out through Adult Swim.
Right.
Like, it's crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing that Adult Swim has become this. And the thing is, though, is that the songs all share this like really cool chill, and there's something in, I think it's in literature or in media in general, it's something called the Midnight City vibe or something like that. It's a mysterious dark city type vibe type thing.
Yeah,
it's a legit thing, and they really play on it. They like these TV shows.
That's what I'm going to be. Midnight City. These
anime that they show, these musical artists they show, they tap into this sort of midnight, sort of like drive through the city type sounds and feelings, almost like the loneliness of the city type thing.
Yeah,
and I really like that about.
Yeah,
them.
I love that. It's because it's like at night sometimes. Whenever it's like late at night, I just like to, I don't know, just sit there, have something to eat, and just watch it and just have that feeling of like alone in the city.
Yeah,
you know,
it's such like a, and Adult Swim always did a great job of this, where you like, again with their bumps, like it's just so peaceful. It's like you're like, you know, like I know I have shit to do tomorrow, but right now at
just chill.
1:30 a.m. I am completely relaxed.
Yeah,
and it's such a great feeling. But no, one thing about Adult Swim that we haven't even mentioned, they're like totally like a game developer now. Like,
oh yeah, they have their own games.
Yeah, right. And like all those games are like really good. Like Duck, like take Duck Game for example. That game like caught fire.
I heard what was it, that one game Headlopper or whatever, where like you play as a head and you try to get attached to new bodies. I heard that was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean I
Rick and Morty games.
Yeah,
Rick and Morty in general has become a sensation.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they had like just take Rick and Morty, which is a tiny piece of the Adult Swim puzzle that they did like the whole truck tour.
It's insane.
Where they were driving the Rick van all over the place, and like oh my god, Dan Harmon and all of them, they just did like a whole like 2-hour panel, and that's where they revealed like, hey, Rick and Morty season 3 drops on like July 30th, and it's like just, I don't know, probably 150, 200 people in the room, but they literally just sit there and bullshit for 2. It would be like somebody coming to see us live, and it was just like, well, we kind of don't know what to do, so let's just do some random shit, and like Dan Harmon's there like writing a script for a Rick and Morty character, and he's like, let's make a new character, huh? And like he goes to the audience like, what should the species be? It's so great. And Adult Swim's always done that good, or like a great job of like breaking down barriers where it doesn't feel like it's like you, 1,000 middleman or 1,000 middlemen creator. It's like you and Adult Swim and creator like are kind of like this being of your own, especially now in the age of social media. It feels like it's so easy to get in contact.
Adult Swim is an experience, and Captain Christian himself said you can't get that with Netflix, and I totally agree with that. You can't get that feeling of connection with you instead of feeling like you're another person watching your community. It's almost like the only example I can think of that is a television forum board where you are a part of the voice. And I think it's amazing. I
just wish it was possible to have Adult Swim as one thing, like an app like Netflix.
Like a channel. Well, like a constant channel in the background. I would love to have that, but of course, that's a whole different...
I wonder how something like that would do if Turner was like, you know what? We're taking Adult Swim off Cartoon Network, and we're making Adult Swim its own channel.
See, I don't know if that would work.
I don't think it would work
because I feel like it's just specifically set
Yeah.
for like nighttime.
It feels like part of the whole aesthetic is that it like Cartoon Network again just shows like, and a Cartoon Network again has gotten way better through the past couple of years because they were on the downhill spiral forever. But like Adult Swim is just one of those things that just feels so different. Like especially as a kid, you almost feel like kind of a badass for watching it.
Yeah.
You're like, ooh, blood? Okay, I'm with it. Like, Kid Next Door don't got this. Okay, let's go.
I feel like the people who watch, one of the biggest, people who watch that watch Adult Swim are kids who are like, ooh, I'm sneaking and watching Adult Swim. And they're just watching shows that they would probably normally watch on like Fox with their parents, but instead they're watching it,
like by themselves. It's
by themselves.
I don't know how to describe it really,
but I also think that it makes me wonder, like, this existential loneliness that a lot of people or a lot of like introverted people are feeling. I wonder if Adult Swim had a play in that too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, because I mean, like, you look and like most of like when you have and again, I'm not tooting anybody's horn here, but when you get into like in-depth conversations about Adult Swim, it's usually kind of more introverted people in most cases, but also they lean more to like the creative side where they see the world like through bright goggles and stuff.
It's almost like Adult Swim has definitely inspires creativity. And another thing that they do is they revive. They are for a long time known as the trash. They were the trash bin of the TV show world, and they revived Family Guy. They revived Cleveland. Well, I don't know if they revived Cleveland Show, but they revived it.
Definitely.
They gave it a place
another life.
They gave it another life to live before passing on.
And Futurama. Don't forget
Futurama. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
American Dad is still coming on.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, yeah, it still comes on, but no, the whole reason American Dad didn't just straight up get canceled is because, again, Fox canceled it, but the viewership was doing so well on Adult Swim, Turner got the rights to it, and now new episodes of American Dad air on TBS.
New episodes are also coming on Adult Swim.
I thought it's
but
season
it's
9.
but new episodes come on TBS first, I think.
Yeah, TBS it's like
they air them on Mondays at 7:00, like prime time.
And then every weekday they'll show Cleveland Show, American Dad, and Family Guy around lunchtime.
Yeah.
Another thing, King of the Hill.
Yeah,
love King of the Hill. King of the Hill is one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But the last thing I want to talk about is definitely the revival. We've talked about it, Toonami. We talked about it a little bit, but the revival of Toonami and how that plays out. I do believe that Toonami has now found its true home. Because I don't think that it's done anything different. Adult Swim hasn't really had to change that much to accommodate Toonami.
Well, I feel like one thing that Toonami's doing right now is kind of like the Adult Swim thing. Again, Captain Christian touched on it in his video, where Adult Swim is not meant for permanent homes. It's meant as a pass-through.
Right.
And, that's why shows will sometimes just get one. Some of your favorite shows ever might get 12 episodes and just be done. That's kind of what Toonami's doing now, where Toonami's we're going to show all these anime, but no idea how long we're going to have this lineup. Just recently, Bleach doesn't come on Toonami anymore.
Yeah.
One Piece doesn't come on Toonami anymore. They're making room for these new anime like your One Punch Man or
They are becoming the sampler platter.
Yeah, they're becoming the sampler platter again, and it's good because, for years they just showed, it was so boring almost. They're Dragon Ball Z at 9, Dragon Ball GT at 9:30. We're going to show a whole ass Death Note movie or whatever.
And they even recently just showed the second season of Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
They started the second season of Attack on Titan in English on Toonami before it even finished in Japanese.
Yeah, which is a crazy turnaround time when you think, because when you think about the One Piece dub was 300 episodes behind the Japanese version.
I think what's happening is that Adult Swim themselves and Toonami themselves, because they're basically the same. They are the same entity at this point.
Yeah,
they are recognizing their place in the world, in the media sphere, because they do streams online. They have streams free. They call them free streams, where they'll stream their shows for free on certain days. They'll do 2 shows a day and interchange them, and.
They still even have their little bumps on their website as well.
Right.
They're
understanding their place and understanding that, okay, the internet has become the place where you can find this stuff either way.
Yeah.
And so they're saying, okay,
without social media, Toonami wouldn't have came back.
We're gonna give the monetary. They're funding things that are exciting. They're giving the sampler platter with Toonami. They're saying, hey, look, this is out here. Go look it up, kids. Because, a 6-year-old, or not say 6-year-old, an 8-year-old with an iPad can probably find these same videos and play them back on these different websites. And so they realize, okay, our place isn't to give you serials anymore. Our place isn't to give you long-running shows. Our place is to show you, is to inspire and to show what's out there and outside of what's considered normal. And that's, to me, is exactly where they should be.
And I feel like Rick and Morty kind of breaks that mold, because I think it caught fire a little bigger than anybody expected.
Right.
Because Rick and Morty comes from a very crudely drawn Back to the Future parody,
and it was so good.
It was good.
Think about it. They premiered it online along with their TV. That's crazy. That's unprecedented for a TV show to be you know what, online presence. But they've always, like I said, Adult Swim has
always been at that forefront.
They've always been at the forefront of the digital content, of internet culture in general, and I think that's important for them to do that, continually do that.
Yeah, Dan Harmon was talking about during that Rick and Morty panel. He was like, yeah, somebody on Twitter asked me the day before we surprised air, because that season 3 premiere was a total surprise. It happened, I think, April 1st.
April Fool's.
Yeah, and somebody asked him the day before, so Dan, when are you airing Rick and Morty? Because Dan would always give the answers it's not done being drawn yet. And then like somebody asked him like, Dan, when will Rick and Morty be out? On March 31st. And then on April 1st, he goes, fine, just this one time, like after it aired. And then, it aired for like 3 straight hours. I think it took over the whole Toonami Adult Swim block. It was on a Saturday. That whole block that night. They just showed that episode, season 3, episode 1. It's kind of crazy. Like when you think about it, like imagine a network television channel airing their biggest program, season premiere, as a surprise with no marketing, nothing. And you couldn't do that. I mean, you couldn't do that 5 years ago, but now it's just like, we'll do it. It'll be fun. Yeah. And they just did it. And it's just like,
it's amazing. And wow. I really hope they continue that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Wow. Lots of memories.
We have officially been going for an hour about Toonami and Adult Swim.
Wow, that's like
it doesn't even feel like it's been an hour.
Yeah, I was like, I hope we're getting close to 40 minutes because I was like, I don't know what else.
We literally just hit an hour.
Wow,
gosh, that's crazy.
But, it just has a special place in all of our hearts.
Very underappreciated, it seems.
It does, especially like here, like where we live. Like you never hear like people like again when we were all in high school. You never go like, man, Adult Swim is so cool. Or like Toonami is so cool, but again, everybody in the mother loved Dragon Ball Z. But anyways, let me get to the plugs. You can, if you're listening to this, thank you. You can always check us out on SoundCloud, on iTunes, Google Play Music. Review us, leave us a rating, subscribe to us. It helps us out tremendously. You can follow our Instagram at AYCH Podcast. You can follow our Twitter at AYCH Podcast, and you can follow our Twitch at All You Can Hear. So just tons of different brandings that you can just follow us on, follow our little adventures. Again, this is July 31st, so this would be episode 14. So this would be the week before SCI. So again, on our Instagram, we're going to have tons of pictures of like all the wrestlers. We're doing all sorts of
one of us getting hit.
Yeah, somebody getting chopped maybe. We're doing all sorts of crazy shit. And as always, I've been Tanner, and you can follow me at Tanner1495. And
I'm Colt. You can follow me on Twitter at ColtD88. Almost said Tanner1495.
Well, you can do that too.
I'm Wenzel. You can follow me on Twitter at WenzyWilkie.
And I'm Cody. You can find me right here on the AYCH Podcast.
Yep. I'm glad you're making that your bit.
Yeah, time to pack them up.
I know, it's my favorite bit. All right, guys. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Ah!